Wait, are you recording, Juice? There we go. Yeah.
All right, let me start that over.
That doesn't matter. Okay.
And away we go.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cold villains on the mind, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another animatronic episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name's Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 407, recorded Sunday, January 22nd, 2023. Tonight, we're talking about another Patreon pick. This one was chosen by Alice. The movie is Willy's Wonderland. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy Randu. How do?
Hello, gentlemen.
I'm going to do my Nick Cage impression. You ready? Here he goes.
Nailed it.
Was that good? That was good, right?
Yeah. Now you got to chug soda. Just chug
Oh, yeah,
it.
man. I got to play some fucking pinball and say nothing.
Yes.
That's my vibe, you know?
With a fresh tea.
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time.
You always got to keep the tea fresh.
You got to stay crispy out there. Last but not least, calling in from Jacksonville, Florida, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy, a fistful of caffeine for your kisser stains.
Cool. for your
kisser. Right,
For-
for your
for your-
kisser.
This is made for your kisser.
Your
Kisser.
We're
Lord.
we're all drinking Surge tonight. This episode,
Yeah.
Dude,
Surge.
oh my lord.
Dude, I drank that as a child. Who knows how
As an
tall I could
infant.
have grown to be?
Dude, I mean, you ate Fruity Pebbles and
I
fucking
know,
Cinnamon Toast
I know.
Crunch and
We all would have been
Piece of
8
8 feet
shit.
tall, like monsters if we hadn't eaten this processed horse shit.
The
Oh,
shit
what
we
could
feed
have
our
been.
kids in America is questionable.
Yeah, to say the least.
At best.
A very
At best.
mild critique.
Got a boy and chug that Surge like your mama told you.
It might not be okay.
In this house.
Yeah.
All
We
right.
chug Surge.
In this house, we chug Surge before bed, so we're quickest in our dreams.
Damn.
I drink coffee before bed so that I dream fast. Foxy Shazam.
That is a foxy.
Hell
Go
yeah.
on, Bob.
Yeah, let's tackle some housekeeping real quick. Here is a reminder, your final reminder, actually. We do have our February poll pick currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on our February poll. The theme for February is Women in Horror Month. The 3 movies to vote between are Raw, Censor, and Slumber Party Massacre.
All right.
Whoa, Bob, how are those numbers looking in the end of February? Or nope, January.
End of January. Slumber Party Massacre is still on top with 50% of the vote.
Wow.
Raw and Censor are split between the last 50.
Wow, okay. Interesting. Cool.
Holding
They
strong.
like the classic, maybe. They want
Yeah.
to pull it
Yeah.
out.
Classics. After this, we got to retire Raw. It's not coming back.
Dude, it's been on like
It's
3
like
or
4.
4.
Yeah.
Your
People don't wanna
takeover
watch
month
Raw.
should just be Raw. It's like we
No,
are watching.
I don't like it that
Raw.
much. I just feel like I always should give it a shot. It's
Oh, yeah.
retired after this.
Not like it's no Ghost, so you're not gonna fight. for it.
Exactly.
Oh my god. No, we can only talk about Raw in October when Justin demands we talk about it. That's what's gonna happen.
Not
Like
Iron
goes-
Fisting like Bob over here.
I Iron Fist me, Juice. Get those votes in before the end of January. We'll see what movie we're talking about this February. In other Patreon news, we did just drop a brand new mini cast last Friday. If you support us at the $10 level or above, you get access to a whole back catalog of Patreon exclusive content. Last Friday, we dropped a mini cast talking about Bones and All, the latest from Luca Guadagnino.
Bob,
You
that
managed
was you
not to say
talking.
boners.
Yeah, I know. Whoa.
Look at
Our-
you. You're
boy's
just growing into
growing
a
up.
fine young man.
I'm an adult, man. I don't have to always talk about boners, just sometimes.
Just as often as I can.
Just 80% of the time.
I got a boner. Get a boner, cuz. So yeah, check out our minicast on Bones and All over on Patreon. We're creeping up on 90 minicasts already. That's fucking crazy.
God damn.
Whoa, we gotta
man, I can't believe
celebrate.
how much work I put in.
We got to celebrate with extra mini cast on our 100th mini cast.
Just more. Just
You know
do
what
more.
we should do?
What
Let's
we
throw
should
a party
do.
for
You
our
know what
100th
we
episode.
With 100 extra mini
You know what
cast
we should
episodes.
do?
Mhm.
This is like, I'm reminded of that season of Sunny in Philadelphia where Rob McElhenney tried to convince everybody in the cast to gain 50 pounds. You know what we should do?
Oh yeah.
We should all gain 50 pounds for the season and just not address
For the
it.
podcast.
And then nobody
for our
else
audio
would.
podcast.
Yeah, for our audio podcast. I'm just going to gain 50 pounds just so I can eat more, I think.
We should sound like we're 50 pounds heavier. That's what we should sound like.
Whoa,
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I don't wheeze
It's
enough as it is.
so
I need another
true.
surge.
This podcast is going to turn into the whale real quick.
Podcast brought to you by Surge. We're dropping a fresh mini cast on Friday, February 3rd. That's our next one dropping. I'm also going to be talking about a new Kevin Williamson slasher called Sick. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
I saw that. That was on what? Paramount?
Peacock.
Peacock.
yeah.
Yeah. God, there's so many. Peacock. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Peacock in it. And if you do support us on Patreon, we're going to email you an RSS feed. You can drop that into your podcatcher of choice. You don't have to listen to those mini casts just on Patreon. You can listen to them anywhere you prefer. Nice and easy.
Nice.
What else we got? Juice, you got a new YouTube video dropping.
You started a new YouTube.
You bought a YouTube.
I got a couple things
Juice
actually. Yeah. First, on Monday, we dropped a brand new Creature Comforts. That is our little spin-off YouTube exclusive where I cover horror adjacent films. This week I was talking with your boy Matt from Swords and Stereo Podcast, where we were talking about Fight Club. Matt has been on the podcast a few times. The Green Knight and the Northman, stuff like that. So I actually got him on something where he didn't have to talk about sword fighting, even though that is his specialty.
Yeah. Talk about shit you don't know about, Matt. That's what we want.
No,
You guys
actually,
talking about the all singing, all dancing crap of the world this week, huh?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the discussion that we had. And I hadn't. So I picked that movie because he kind of inspired me on our Slack, and he brought some really great insight as well. It was a really great discussion. I hadn't seen that movie in like a long time, and so it was interesting to go back and see it and then talk about it again. And also, I was a guest this week, and I think the episode's coming out tomorrow, Thursday, which is on Waxing the Porpoise. So you can hear me talk about the movie Prisoners with your boy G Baby and the usual suspect Steve. And that was a movie I'd never seen before either.
Which Prisoners?
So starring Hugh Jackman.
Yeah,
Jake Gyllenhaal. I had never heard. So G Baby brought this up to me. And it was kind of, so I had G Baby on Creature Comforts a couple months ago, and so inspired by that kind of like darker horror adjacent but not horror type of movies, he picked this one, which is kind of like a crime thriller. Jake Gyllenhaal. Paul
Becky brought this
Dano.
up to me. I wasted a whole fucking afternoon because Becky was convinced that we watched a movie together that what ended up being this movie that I had never heard of or seen before.
I
was
never
just
seen it
grilling
either.
me about this fucking movie. Had that guy, had the Wolverine was in it. Like I don't know what you're fucking talking about. Nightcrawler was in. Alan Cumming. I don't know. Like it was.
It's got the Wolverine and Nightcrawler in it. Are you talking about?
It's got Wolverine. Yeah. It wasn't.
It's not
X-Men,
Sexman.
And like I was like,
The
I can't
Riddler
think of
was in
anything that
it?
describe. She was. They
Yeah.
would describe to me the story, and as from what they could remember, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck you are talking about.
Yeah, so this was a like completely blind spot for me, but and I didn't realize even like until our discussion, it's the same director that did Arrival, that new Blade Runner. He did that new
Villanueva.
Dune. Yeah.
Mhm.
So he's a good director. So I wasn't aware that all those kind of Sicario, all those movies were linked to him. Like I didn't realize. So
I've never seen this movie. It's interesting that you guys are talking about it this week because Mikey for the past couple weeks has been telling me to watch it, and we were hanging out today, and he
what's
randomly
happening?
found a Blu-ray copy of a used Blu-ray for like super cheap. I was like, Bob, buy this now. So I'm definitely gonna watch it this week for the first time. I'm
Okay.
They're
stoked about it.
dealers talking.
Cool. Yeah.
I know. Buy this.
Maybe it
now.
just dropped at Netflix or something, and people are getting renewed interest because it seems like
Maybe.
Maybe, I
how
don't
did
know.
all of us experience
Yeah.
this at the same time?
I don't know, man.
But it was completely fresh to me, and that was also a good discussion. That movie's
Nice.
got some wild, like underneath the surface stuff going on. So we had a lot to talk about. So yeah, you get 3 shots of soju this week. Woo! You're gonna be tore up
Be
from
prepared
the
to be
floor up.
bedazzled.
Be prepared. I'm
prepared.
prepared to be dazzled. But that's my house is clean after that. Anybody else got
I got
anything else?
One more thing from Bob here. At the time of this episode's release, we will have already dropped a new episode of Let's Get Physical Media.
Whoa.
Mikey and I are talking about our top 10 Blu-ray and or 4K releases of 2022.
How many of those
you
did he
can-
force you to buy at gunpoint?
Oh, for sure.
You're
Is
buying
this-
this.
Is this somehow
has
another week where we have something coming out every day?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
You
Just
know what
no
we should
mini
do?
cast.
We should have a
No
party
minicast, yeah.
every week where we celebrate how many
How-
things we've released.
How do we keep doing this?
I don't know. Yeah, Creature Comforts on YouTube Monday. Let's Get Physical Media top 10 of 2022 on Tuesday. Our review of Willy's Wonderland on Wednesday, which you're currently listening to. And then on Thursday, Justin's guest spot over on Waxing the Porpoise talking about prisoners.
Wow.
On Friday,
Check it
Justin's
out.
going to swing dong on the OnlyFans.
You know, per use.
Yeah, no.
Oh, she's a fancy flapjack.
Per use.
So,
yeah.
I think
Freaky
our house
Fridays,
is-
we call them.
I think our house is clean, probably.
Oh, shit.
His house is clean.
Let's get into the main event. We're talking Willy's Wonderland, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, how many copies are in your possession?
Just the one. Just the
But
one.
does Alice also have one? How many are in your house?
No, I don't think she does. Actually, it's just one. Just
Okay.
one.
Okay.
You can't
Willy's
deduct the
Wonderland-
second one, Bob.
Yeah, unfortunately. From 2021 with a runtime of 1 hour and 28 minutes. This was directed by Kevin Lewis, stars Nick Cage, Emily Tosta, Beth Grant, a handful of other folks. Plot synopsis brought to you by the back of the box. A quiet loner finds himself stranded in a remote town when his car breaks down. Unable to pay for the repairs he needs, he agrees to spend the night cleaning Willy's Wonderland, an abandoned family fun center. But this Wonderland has a dark secret that the, quote, the janitor, end quotes, is about to discover. He soon finds himself trapped inside Willy's and locked in an epic battle with the possessed animatronic mascots that roam the halls. To survive, he must fight his way through each of them. Gentlemen, had you seen this movie before? And would you recommend people check it out? Randy, why don't you kick us off?
No, I had not seen this film before. I was aware of this movie though, like for a couple of reasons. One, because of some of the subject matter we'll get into. The way it was marketed is very adjacent to other things that people will recognize. I don't know if we want to pop that cork just yet, but so I was like vaguely interested. But it also came out. I also knew it as basically the counterpart to the movie Pig, the other Nick Cage movie that released around the same time. And from what I understood, this was the action movie and Pig was the drama. And like, I just didn't really, the drama is what I wanted out of Nick Cage at that time. So I just skipped this. I would give this a very, very light, very, very, very light recommend. I think that it is absolutely background watch sort of movie where you can kind of toss it on, flip through your phone, get a few thrills, laugh a little bit, and then move on. It's low stakes. So if that's what you're after, it's very action oriented. So if that's the sort of thing you're into, you're not going to get quite the same performance as Mandy, but you're going to get a Nick Cage performance anyway.
All right, Juice, what about you?
I would not particularly recommend this to anyone. I don't think I'd sway anybody if they're like, I'm gonna check this out tonight. I'd be like, okay, cool, let me know what you think. But I wouldn't say anybody needs to check this movie out. It's Nick Cage. It's a Nick Cage film in the loosest sense because I don't think it's got the magic of a Nick Cage film because he doesn't speak. And so, I mean, I don't know. So I don't think it carries, the same thing as like what a Con Air would, what a Mandy would, I just don't think it lives up to that. I think it's kind of like a mislead even in some sense. And so not particularly, no. Bob, how about you? Would you recommend people check this movie out?
Are you going to be able to sleep in your home tonight if you say no?
No, I won't be able to.
My wife kicked me out.
I would generally give it a recommend. Yeah, it's not like super groundbreaking by any means, but I think it's a fun popcorn film. And you get some Nick Cage goofiness, and there's definitely enough action and like blood, really like oil spilled to like keep you engaged. I think it's a fun popcorn film. I think if you expect anything more than that, you'll probably be disappointed. So, yeah, I'd give it a recommend. Generally speaking, maybe a recommend from the straight.
That's maybe the lightest recommend.
Yeah, maybe I think if you feel like it. Yeah.
I would give that maybe like a 25% recommend overall.
All right, Ray-induced the aggregator amongst us. 25% recommend.
Aggregator.
Drop trout. All right, let's go ahead and get into the rest of the movie. Here comes that spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning.
Bob, do you have this plot synopsis?
You know it. Here is the full plot synopsis for Willy's Wonderland.
This is longer than 4 sentences. You wrote it wrong.
Oh, it's longer. It's definitely longer than that. A quiet drifter's car breaks down outside of Hayesville, Nevada. He's picked up by a local mechanic named Jed Love. The drifter has no money to pay for repairs. So Jed introduces them to Tex McAdoo, owner of the now defunct kids entertainment complex Willy's Wonderland.
McAdoo.
McAdoo. Tex tells the drifter if he cleans Willy's Wonderland overnight, he'll pay for his repairs and bring him his car back in the morning. He agrees and gets to work. Meanwhile, teenager Liv Hawthorne gets handcuffed to a radiator by her guardian and local sheriff, Eloise Lund, for attempting to burn down Willy's Wonderland. Liv's friends show up, they pick the lock and set her free. Back at Willy's, we see 8 dust-covered animatronics on stage. Willy the Weasel, Artie the Alligator, Cammy Chameleon, Ozzy Ostrich, the fucking Knight, Tito Turtle, Gus Gorilla, and Siren Sarah. Ozzy ends up attacking the drifter. He's beaten to death with a mop. Liv and her friends try to douse Willy's Wonderland, in gasoline. Whenever Liv realizes the drifter is inside, she crawls in to get him out. The drifter is then attacked by Gus, who gets his head curb stomped on a urinal. Liv's friends crawl up onto the roof and it caves in, allowing them all to fall through. Liv then explains Willy's Wonderland was originally owned by a serial killer by the name of Jerry Robert Willis. He and his 7 cohorts would murder families in a secret room in Willy's. When the authorities found out, they performed a satanic ritual, transforming their consciousness into the animatronics. The Knight then awakens. He impales Aaron with his sword. Tito and Sarah devour Dan. Artie mauls Kathy and Bob. The drifter decapitates the Knight and rips Artie's jaw in half. Sheriff Lund gets a call about Willy's Wonderland and goes to investigate with another deputy. On the way, Lund reveals that she, Tex, and Jed made a deal with the animatronics that they would feed them if they promise to stop killing the locals. They agree, and over the years, they managed to trick several drifters into cleaning Willy's so they could get eaten. Liv's parents are among the victims, and a very guilt-stricken Lund adopted Liv when she was discovered in Willy's all alone. After that, Cammy snaps Chris's neck. The deputy handcuffs the drifter and leaves him for dead while taking Liv and hauling ass. Tito stows away in the cop car and kills the deputy. Back at the restaurant, the drifter kills Cammy and Sarah. Lund tries to get Willy to kill the drifter, but rips Lund in half. Instead, the drifter and Willy fight, and the drifter rips Willy's head off. The next day, Tex and Jed arrive to Willy's, find it completely clean, and all the animatronics are gone. The drifter gets his car back, and Liv gets in with him. They drive off together. Sarah appears and sets Tex's car on fire, killing him and Jed. As the drifter and Liv leave town, they run over a lost Tito. Roll them credits.
Woo, Bob, that was unexpectedly
I'm impressed
long.
that you. Yeah, I'm impressed that you actually went into which animatronics names were which and shit like
Got
that.
it. I got it all. It's all there.
Nailed it in an extremely not truncated.
He's
time.
he's on a special pressure to perform this week, so
Oh, yeah.
We do that for every single movie.
so
Bob, please, you don't have to justify yourself to us.
So
Yeah.
Bob said this in his recommend, and I don't know. So Bob said, it's like a popcorn movie. And this is not what I, in particular, would refer to as a popcorn movie. I would refer to like Top Gun Maverick as a popcorn
You're
movie.
thinking there's two different.
I would think of like Iron Man as a popcorn movie. I don't really think of this as a popcorn movie.
I see what Bob, like, you guys are just defining it different. Like what you're describing, Justin, is more of like blockbusters. Like
Yeah.
and it doesn't have, to my mind, you don't have to be a blockbuster to be considered a popcorn movie. To me, it's just the sort of thing that's like low stakes. You sit there, you munch on your shit. There's not a whole lot of like heavy lifting in terms of like thinking about the plot or anything like that. You're just there to kind of like.
There's nothing to read into. It's just like dumb fun on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
consumable. It's a piece of candy. You eat it and it's gone, and you enjoy
Yeah.
it for the few
Yeah.
minutes you're enjoying it. That's how I feel about this whole movie, actually. So.
Yeah. So one thing I do appreciate is they kept it long, kept it short. It's clean, like 85 minutes, something like that. And that's good. I remember when this movie came out, and Nick Cage was kind of cranking some of them out. I forgot that Pig was kind of the ones that came out, and maybe it was because Pig came out and got such good reviews. But I remember the biggest thing about this movie is like, yeah, Nick Cage is in it, he doesn't speak, and I was like, what a weird choice for someone to make as a director, to do that, because even in my recommend, I was saying, yeah, like Nick Cage is here, but you could almost like swap him out. I don't think there's anything that Nick Cage does in this film that's like, that's so Nick Cage, he's really
No,
bringing the Nick
yelling really is his
Caginess.
bread and butter.
Yeah, acting wacky, doing crazy voices, going way over the top.
I would say that
with
playing
his
pinball at
acting.
the end
A
is
little
That's Nick
bit.
Cage.
That's probably the maximum Nick Cage,
Yeah.
Nick Cage you get in this.
Yeah,
I
And I agree. Like
yeah.
he's definitely the most he's most recognizable as like the zany version of Nick Cage when he is speaking, certainly.
Yeah.
Which is why this movie and Pig are so parallel, because they're also both like man a few words movies.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
thing is, like in that movie, it's a man a few words, and you find out his pathos and all this other shit that like
Mhm.
this movie does not give a shit about. And I think that like this is like there's like a spectrum of Nick Cage movies. On one end you have this movie, on the other end you have Pig, and in the smack dab in the fucking middle is fucking Mandy, like where like
Lord.
they both took different lessons from his performance in Mandy. It's like, oh, you put some like this movie is like, oh, you put some like blue and purple and pink lights on the guy and you let him go crazy. It's a hit. It's gonna be a hit. People love it. And then Pig took the thing. Oh, this guy is like performing right now. He's doing a good performance. And I could also understand why Nick Cage would want to do both, because he is all about like the acting challenge. Like he is very big into like actorly pursuits. So for him to have a movie was like, oh, I'm going to do a whole movie where I don't speak at all, no words. That's my challenge. I'm going for it. The problem is we just don't get the same returns, especially in the kind of movie this is for him. Because this movie does beg for him to be the most bombastic version of himself, and he doesn't get to be. So I see your point.
He was a producer on this, actually. Nick Cage in 2021, he had 3 movies come out. It was Pig, Willy's Wonderland, and then another movie called Prisoners of the Ghostland. So like Mandy definitely like lit his career on fire in a way. He was doing a lot of work. I do think like you're definitely not getting the most out of Nick Cage if he's completely silent throughout the movie. This doesn't need him to say a whole bunch of like mind-bending shit, but if you had a handful of one-liners thrown in there, I think it would have done the movie a service. Nick Cage is really like why people are showing up. Secondary to that, I think if you're a fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, you're showing up for that too. Which I don't know shit about Five Nights at Freddy's other than just like it's a video game series that basically is the same plot of this movie. You're like stuck inside of a Chuck E. Cheese knockoff, and the animatronics come alive, and you got to fight for your life, sort of.
And it's huge with kids.
Yeah, there's like 9 or 10 of those games. Apparently, there's a shitload. There's comic books. It's like a huge property. Blumhouse is making like a Five Nights proper. I think that's probably coming out this year or next year. Yeah, it's like they're finally making one.
Does that though? Like I don't know. Like it could be better certainly, but like I mean, I have played Five Nights at Freddy. I've played the first one not all the way through. I've played a few, like just a handful of hours on it. It wasn't really for me. But yeah, like it is such a hot property that like they just couldn't wait to get this fucking thing out, to get a movie like this out, since it was kind of zeitgeisty at time this came out, or like just like the year before, where it was like this and the Showbiz Pizza people, the Banana Splits movie. Yeah, this came out parallel to that too. So there was just a hunger for this sort of thing because of the proliferation of Five Nights at Freddy, and it's I guess they just couldn't get the rights to that, because this is essentially that. It's totally essentially that. It's that with the color palette of Mandy. And the problem I have with it is that like this, you had said like if they had given him one-liners or things like that, it would go a long way. I totally agree with that, but I also have no faith, based on what I've seen in this movie, that those one-liners would be funny.
Well, yeah, I guess that's the thing. I'm a little disappointed. It's like, you know, you can have Nick Cage and he can do some shit, and there's some things that he does in here that I think work pretty well in the ideas, but everything else surrounding this is, I wouldn't even say like mediocre. I would say is below mediocre. Like all the other actings, all the other kind of setups, the way they use the settings, a lot of the kills and stuff like that. I would say if you switch Nick Cage out of this movie, if it was some rando in here, even if he was given lines to speak, I feel like it would really drop people's perception of this movie, because I'm of the opinion that everything else surrounding just Nick Cage as an actor, as a person, is subpar, is less than medium.
In this film, you mean?
In this film, yeah. That's my.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I generally agree with that. It's like without the name recognition, and there's one other actor in here that I did recognize, and that was Beth Grant, and I want to give a special shout out to her. She played the sheriff, and she is like a prolific fucking character actress. You have definitely seen her in a bunch of things since we were kids. Like I remember on Malcolm in the Middle, and I'm like looking at her IMDb. She's got fucking almost 250 film credits to her name. Incredible.
Damn.
She does fine in this. The problem with this is like it is the acting. Otherwise, I think that like Nick is doing okay with what he's got. I think she's doing okay with what she's got, and I think that most of the other actors are just not pulling their weight, really. Like I think there's an attempt.
They're not great. I think the dude that's like the driving the wrecker is like goofy enough, and Tex is goofy enough. They're not like bringing a ton to the movie, but they're like some chuckles here and there. I think they're not. I didn't like hate them when they were on screen or anything.
No, I didn't hate anybody on screen, which is good. Like it would be very easy to slip into that, but like I wouldn't say I felt hatred towards anybody in this movie, but I would say that I was evaluating, especially the younger people in this movie. There were some some real hollow notes hit with some of their performances.
And
it wasn't just the performances, though. In fairness, it was the writing too.
It
Some of the
was, yeah.
writing was pretty tinny to the ear.
There were things that were just like so superficial. Even I kind of agree of this setup that people were setting this up. It's got this quirky kind of nature, and not quite silly, but like, quirky. And so you're not taking it too seriously. But I understand the need to have the kids go in and to be red shirts, and I was hoping that would provide some really interesting kills for the animatronics and like to work in the setting in an interesting kind of way. And so I was like pretty disappointed when everything was just so, let's go over this room and bang, and then we're gonna like die while we're banging. It just, there was no special kind of flair or any kind of take that made it like even kind of medium. Like I was saying, it really just felt lazy in a lot of ways.
I definitely think it was kind of lazy in a lot of ways. Like there was I had a lot of trouble figuring out why people were doing things, which in a movie this basic should not be the case. Like there's not a whole lot going on under the surface here. It should not be hard for me to figure out, why are these people, they immediately want to split up? Why not burn it down? Like there's a million questions going on, and like the arguments, everything in the plot, everything that happens, like all the decisions to be made, they do all just kind of like lack in sensicalness. And the thing is, in a movie like this, that can be okay, but it isn't helped along by the other aspects of the movie that much. And if you're gonna have a movie like that's kind of nonsensical, and like, but you got to bring the laughs, you got to bring some great action, and both of those things, I didn't think this movie was that funny at all. And I definitely think that while there was a lot of action, not a lot of it was very sticky to the brain. Like,
distinct.
Like, there was a couple of like of the robots that were interesting. Like the tongue, the frog tongue, that was interesting, and things like that. But it's pretty light on that, honestly.
The kill that sticks out the most to my mind, I think, is the urinal curb stomp kill.
Whole fight, that's honestly, that's kind of what I was expecting from this film, more of, because you have a special set, the whole thing, he's cleaning this place.
Yeah, they use the ball pit a little bit. Some of the kids die in a ball pit, but I do think that like when you think of like a Chuck E. Cheese or a Discovery Zone or something like that, the first thing that comes to my mind are like the tunnels, and like they don't use any sort of like goofy tunnels, which is kind of a bummer. And then the next thing, for whatever reason, that comes to my mind is like skee ball. I was like, somebody needs to die getting like pegged with a skee ball or something. But they didn't cash in. Yeah, they didn't cash in fully on this setting in a way that they could have. That would have made a lot of the kills cooler. And Nick Cage does like bang somebody up against some arcade machines to death, and he like rips the alligator's mouth in half. And so there's like a lot of like decent kills, but it definitely doesn't use the setting in a way that it probably should.
I think that there's a budgetary constraint that is maybe at the core of that, because like it would be so I think they've spent a lot of their budget on a few sets, just like the arcade set with like unique things there, and then like the super fun room with and then that jungle room that the pixie girl was. Like those were like interesting sets, but they didn't do a lot with them, and I feel like they were not structurally built to be used in the way that they could have been used. And so like I think that's a budgetary thing ultimately, and I think they did okay in making it at least visually appear like in keeping with what you're talking about. I could have used some skee ball. They used all their like skee ball set piece money on making a custom Willy's Wonderland pinball machine, though,
or
which
even
is for some reason at the core of this movie. I still don't understand.
It's also in the kitchen too, for some reason.
And also too, I wish they had done even like playing in some of the kills like that. So he's in the bathroom, he kills the gorilla, he curb stomps him on the urinal. Okay, So with the idea, like you're saying, like chucking some skee balls at people, or this is more adventure landing from our age, but or our area, but I wanted like a laser tag kind of room, which you need a black room and some neon paint and like some ramps. I feel like that doesn't need so much of a budget.
That's true.
Because the super fun room was not really anything except that it had a different name. Well, it wasn't anything distinct.
It was the birthday party room or whatever. And I can understand that if you have like, the thing is like if you have that, that's fine as is, as long as like some of your other settings are more like distinct, are bringing more distinctive and more true to the experience of going to one of those places, because that would be how it is. Like you would have a birthday room where you have just tables with chairs and things
to eat cake and pizza
and have
shit like that.
A character show or whatever. And then in the other rooms you have an arcade, and then the other room laser tag, like you say. So like I agree with that. I think that they did some of the work. They didn't do a terrible job getting the setting right, but they didn't do enough to really make it feel exciting. I guess
I like the idea of the group of serial killers like taking families into the back room to like murder them and stuff, and then you get this sort of like child's play aspect where they do this satanic ritual to like transfer themselves into these animatronic creatures. I really like the setup of that, and like that being the explanation to like why these things are coming alive. And they're not just serial killers, they're like cannibalistic serial killers. So that's like why they're feasting on these fucking families and shit. It's like it's super gruesome, and honestly like they probably could have shown a little bit of that happening, like a quick flashback or something to like add to the gore or the action of the movie. I wouldn't have hated that, but I like that that's the idea behind these creatures.
It would have fit into the quirkiness for me if you have a couple of them gnawing on this clearly prop arm or something like that. It's
almost like if you lean into the corniness. Sure. And here's the thing, this is also a movie where like these characters that are animatronics are very, very, very painfully obviously people in costumes, and or people not in costumes in the case of the pixie woman who's just a head. Like I don't know, man. Like they're playing it real, like they're filling out the screen. I give them credit for that. All the shots, like they really like, and they do a lot of it in post. It seems like a lot of the coloring effects or whatever to make it seem unique and interesting to as much as possible. But ultimately, like a lot of it, you can kind of see the seams where it's like, yeah, but if the camera wasn't shaking here, this would look like Nick Cage miming hacking with a hammer or whatever.
It does have a lot of shaky cam, which is a bummer. Yeah,
it does. What I don't usually mind shaky cam, but the thing is, like, I've rarely seen shaky cam used to such little effect in this. Like, it's that, and then the lens flares and the blurring around the edges that makes it like I think it's supposed to be in like caused quote unquote power. Like whenever he downs a big thing of soda, like I think, and then the action scene happens, and then anyway, I just think that it's like I just don't think that it really pans out the way that they're trying to make it. It doesn't hide some of the cheapness, so you might as well embrace it more.
And even I would have, to add to the quirkiness, when he pounds a drink, and maybe this did happen, I feel like it didn't. Even if there was like some little power up sound or something, like a la Scott Pilgrim. Something like that. If you're gonna make it this kind of like cheap feeling thing, at least add in some of those really basic kind of sound effects to really kind of ramp that up. Even like sound effects of an old arcade or something, like or something, just to spice it up a little bit. I feel like they really missed the mark on some of that stuff.
It's interesting you say that, actually, because there was a couple of shots in this where I was like, they're clearly trying to do an Edgar Wright quick cut, but they're not being quick enough somehow. Like they're just not. It's like slowly doing an Edgar Wright quick cut shot. It's really weird. It's specifically what I'm thinking of is when the kids finally pull up. It's the whole group of them, and they each grab a canister of lighter fluid, of gasoline or whatever, and they're each pulling it off the back of a truck, and then they each walk into frame. That takes way too long for as punchy as it's clearly trying to be. It's not like I feel like this movie is trying to pad a little bit, which is crazy for a movie that has, you know, I don't know. I feel like it should be able to support 80 minutes without having to pad.
Yeah, especially when you have 8 characters. It's like we've got 8 characters and they describe them all and stuff like that. And you get a car chase scene where one of them's on the roof. And yeah, you're right. For 80 minutes, I mean, you got 10 minutes per kill essentially, and you got some setup to do. So you got to do a kill every 7 minutes or so.
Math.
I don't think that's too much to ask, and I don't need it to be serious. I really think it's missing some of the spice in this cooking, those little sound effects, add in like 1 or 2 more distinct rooms that have neon lights in them or something. And there's even like a disco ball spinning around.
They did a what do you call it? What is the blinking light? What is that called?
Strobe
light. They do that, which I thought was like, that's one of those things that's like, it feels cheap, but in kind of an enjoyable way. It feels like DIY filmmaking, which is, I think, what this movie is. And like, I'm torn because part of me is like, yeah, if you're a DIY filmmaker and you can elevate beyond that with your budget, then go for it. And hopefully you shoot for the moon. And if you fall, then that's fine. And I think that's where this movie fell. But then like the converse of that is like, if you want to just lean into the DIY nature of your project and make that part of the aesthetic and the fun of it, then that is, I don't know if that's a safer bet or not, because it can go sideways very easily. I kind of wish this movie had done that though. Like, I think it would ultimately have been a better movie for doing it that way, for leaning into the hokiness a little bit more. But the fact that they didn't, I kind of can't be too pissed about it, because you can tell they're pushing.
Well, a movie
they're pushing against constraints.
Yeah. A movie I was kind of comparing this to, and it might not be fair, but it kind of made me think of it, was Psycho Gourmet, where that's clearly very silly, but I enjoyed that movie a lot. And it's just people in rubber suits doing stupid shit, but they own it, 100%. And I feel like this movie just, it throws in that kind of like basic medium stuff to just get to where it needs to go, not because that's the movie they want to make. Does that make sense? It's like we have some more time to fill. Yeah, we got to do something else, and so they just go for the lowest kind of fruit possible.
Yeah, they know how they want it to end, and they know like how it starts, but
and Nick Cage is in it. Yeah.
And you know what the difference is between this movie and Psycho Gourmet? That like the number one difference I would point to. And it's not just budget, because that movie definitely does have more budget, but it's also the fucking editing, man. Like I was saying earlier, it's not just the Edgar Wright shots. Every shot in this movie, not every shot, but like a lot of these shots feel like if the movie's trying to reach a fever pitch and it's trying to be quick and punchy, and it's just really not, kind of drags its ass for what it seems like it's aiming for. And I feel like that is an like padding by fractions of a second every shot. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think that, I don't know, I maybe I'm all wrong on that, but it really feels like the pacing of the shots and everything are too slow to really, like, if they were quicker with the cuts in the action and some of the action scenes, maybe some of those scenes wouldn't show. If they were quicker to cut to people's reactions or whatever to certain things, maybe some of the jokes would land better. Like it just doesn't seem punchy enough in the editing room to me. And that's what Psycho Gourmet does great. Like, they have great comedic timing on that movie.
Yeah, I think another thing they could have probably improved upon, they started skirting around it a little bit, but like these animatronic characters are actual people, like, they're the essence of the souls of people that have been transferred into them or whatever. So like we get a very like light taste of their characters, because they say some lines, but there's not a ton of dialogue coming from them. But like Nick Cage says nothing, so they could have spent the whole movie talking shit to Nick Cage, or like giving us more of a sense of like who these people were before they were transferred into these animatronics. And like they could have gone full blown Chucky in that way, where he says insane, vile, vulgar, disgusting things, but like he also, like we hear him speaking like the voodoo lines and shit like that, like trying to make crazy stuff happen. There's just a lot more that they probably could have dug into with that, and these 8 characters that we essentially don't know anything about. We don't even know their real names. You know, they could have done a lot more, I think, with it.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that what they're trying to do with these creatures is make like tonally they're aiming at Deadites. I think they want them to be Deadites in latter day Army of Darkness things, where they like, you know, they're talking about eating your soul and shit like that.
Yeah,
but it's like through like it's like, but it's also like cat and mouse, like gaming with their prey. You know what I mean? So like there's some of that, but the thing is, these things don't ever feel really. This is another thing: is don't feel that dangerous. Like all of these things are dispatched pretty easily by Nick Cage, and also like if he fights 2 at once at one point, kills the pixie girl, so not really, but like knocks her out, I guess, with his crotch somehow, with his hands behind his back.
Oh yeah.
And the other thing is just standing there watching the whole time. Like this feels like a bad video game situation.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. There's something like all of that. I think the pacing maybe is like kind of a core issue for me. The more I think about it, like
There
not
was
the pacing of the story, but like the pacing of the shots.
There was this aspect of the film that I found interesting and generally like positive. And it kind of dropped off a little bit after the gorilla scene, where one thing that was just at least engaging to me was him cleaning the space and being kind of dedicated to cleaning the space, and then killing these things and the oil fucking shooting out everywhere.
Yeah.
And it drove me like insane in a way, but not in a negative way necessarily. It was just
Even
I feel
the structure of the movie is kind of a video game. Like
yeah. Well, I feel like there could have even been this thing. This is not necessary, and I don't think this would have made this like so much better or anything. But the idea of maybe, you know, because he likes the pinball machine. And so if he had some kind of attachment to this franchise and really was kind of dedicated to bringing it back to life, and had this little grudge against these people who like besmirched the name or something like that, you know, I don't know, but I did the cleaning aspect was actually kind of working for me a little bit. Like when he cleans the bathroom up and stuff.
It's just so simple, and it like I kind of liked it too, but I also felt like it was unfulfilled at the end. Like it was like what was that about?
Me too.
Like what makes this guy tick? I still don't have any idea.
Yeah. He's a man of his word. He said he'd clean the restaurant, and he
That's
did.
What it comes down to. Yeah.
He is a simple guy, and like I like his character generally. What we come to know about him, and like his odd quirks, where he fucking likes his soda, and that's what he drinks. That's all he drinks. He fucking takes his breaks like every hour on the hour or whatever it is. He likes his pinball. He likes his clean shirts. He's just like very cut and dry. I don't know, and like it's like an interesting. It reminds me of our friend Drew a little bit. He just sort of knows what he likes, and like that's kind of the end of it. And I don't know, it's an interesting character. Like I don't know, we get a little bit of extra flair when he's like doing that dance at the end and stuff, which is kind of funny. But like I don't know, his character is interesting even though he doesn't say anything. I think
he's kind of interesting, but also it's just confounding because it's like he's so dedicated to this that he can't be bothered to help this girl survive an attack. He just walks away from her and hands her a fucking knife.
It's
like,
time
I don't
for
know,
a
man.
break.
Yeah, like
gotta take that break.
I kept thinking that like Willy, like after like they dispatched all or most of these other things, that Willy would come in and like bust up the pinball machine, and that would set him off.
That would be a good idea,
because he break his routine or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, like he's got his routine and that he's dedicated to it. And if you break his routine, he gets pissed off. It's just like him being there. But
that's a good call.
But they didn't do anything with it. It just feels like something, another missed opportunity, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do like that he's like very dedicated to his job and like keeping his word. And like at the end of the day, he gets the job done, and that's like what he's really there for, to get his car back and go about his business, whatever it is. We don't really know.
And
it's
then they drive
interesting
away
that like
together, and he gives
that's
her a soda. Like,
that's what I was
is that
gonna
where you're
say.
going?
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting that like he gets the girl in the end, I guess, because like they don't have. There's like no romance happening in this
No.
movie at all.
No,
and then
not
she
at
She has
just
all.
no
like
ties
gets
back
in
at
the
home,
car.
which makes sense.
Yeah.
She's
I mean-
escaped. I understand her arc. Like, she's escaping. This guy,
Yeah,
got her through hell, and so there. But like the fact that he would bring her along doesn't make sense to me, and then hand her like from his perspective, I don't get it. From her perspective, it makes sense enough.
Get me out of this fucking town.
Yeah,
and thank
I don't
you
think it's a
for taking
romantic
care of
thing
that.
implied.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
just a, hey, we're compadres.
Oh, it's romantic.
You helped me survive. Help me get a ride out of here.
Oh, she's only 17.
I hope not.
I have a daddy kink.
Hit me with the I support incest bump, Randy.
That
Where's
doesn't
that?
apply.
Well, we're going through them. We're going through them.
Coming at you!
There you
Yeah, I'll settle for that. I don't know if anybody in real life would ever fucking do this, but the dude that drives the wrecker is just like sucking on a piece of beef jerky the whole movie.
I know, man. I thought it was a cigar, or like he was, which
I thought so
people,
at first,
I guess,
I
yeah.
thought
knew.
so too.
And that's gross in and of itself. But I slowly realized, no, that's fucking Slim Jim.
Yeah.
That's
What the
meat.
fuck?
He
Man.
is sucking on meat.
Ugh.
Don't eat that. Put that down.
Ugh.
Don't do that.
Yeah, not ideal at all. I do think, I don't know, I think this movie would have been sent over the edge just simply if they had been more creative with the kills and like lingered on them a bit more,
Yeah.
a little less shaky cam, and like just like really leaned into that. I think it would have sent the movie over the edge.
I think
That's
there's
really
I
all.
think there's some cheap changes like that don't have to do with budget necessarily. Just some, like Randy said, destroy the pinball, mess up this guy's routine, add in
Sure,
some of those wacky little nostalgic noises that cost nothing. Have maybe one or two more interesting sets that's low stakes, throw a disco
Edit
ball in
tighter.
there or something. And yeah, make the kills a little more interesting, but you can go wacky with it. And I feel like you could have elevated this movie quite a bit. It's got enough in there to be like it could swing either way. And I
Mhm.
feel like almost every choice they made swings it to the low end.
It's just like I feel like they have strong. I agree with Bob that like the serial killer thing. That is a good premise
yeah,
for an
mhm.
action horror comedy. Like
Sure.
it's a good premise. It's a good setting. It just seems like, yeah, I don't know what the root cause is or whatever, but it just seems like they're not really selling what they're trying to sell ultimately.
Yeah.
It's just not really. They're not amping things up to that fever pitch that they're trying to sell this movie as being, and that's that's what they marketed this movie as, is like it's a thrill ride type of movie. It's a popcorn candy, pop it in your
Yeah.
mouth and enjoy it type of movie. But like, there's quite a bit of shots and time in this movie that you spend that's kind of not doing anything and is just at best filled with like hammy dialogue between characters that you don't really know or care about.
I think that's the thing. This movie's supposed to be, when you think about what should this movie be, it should be a thrilling, quirky, comedic type of horror film. And I don't really feel like I was thrilled, and I don't really feel like I laughed. And and maybe at some points a little bit, and so I'm like, okay, that's okay. But I never felt like it ever really, I never felt a moment where I was like, they're nailing this right now. I just always felt like it was like, yeah, okay, I get it.
Never a Leo DiCaprio meme shot where he's pointing at the TV.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the Banana Splits movie?
No,
Not.
but that, from what I've seen, is kind of this, but like maybe leans, like, does what I suggested. It like leans into its DIY nature a little more. Am I wrong?
Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember like just really finding it extremely difficult to finish, like
Damn.
being pretty painful.
That's a bummer.
I think this is more successful than that one was. I assume the Blumhouse Five Nights coming out is probably going to do pretty well, I would think, but I don't know.
I wonder how
I'm
they're
sure
gonna approach it. I'm curious.
I don't know, man. Fucking Blum over on his Twitter is always tweeting about fucking Five Nights. He's always tweeting about it.
They need that next franchise, don't they? That's the only problem I'm having with Blumhouse these days. That they just gotta have those fucking franchises.
I mean, it's a horror movie house, so
You can't. I mean, when shit makes money, you just make a sequel. It's just kind of the name.
Well, I
of the
mean,
game.
but their design. I mean, I understand saying like, "Oh shit, The Conjuring made a lot of money. It's got to have a sequel." Or Insidious made a lot of money. It's got to have a sequel. But like Megan and Five Nights at Freddy's, it feels like now it's by design. We are designing a franchise.
Oh, they're definitely pushing for Megan in particular.
Yeah.
And in fairness, that movie made a fuck ton of money. So
and it's definitely getting a sequel, Megan 2.0.
They announced it like the next day or whatever.
Because it made 30 million on week 1.
Yeah, that's like kind of got a sour taste in my mouth. I'm not crazy.
I know
about
it does kind of feel like it's by design, but also that franchise in particular is kind of that way because it has a central baddie. Like every horror movie like that feels like it's a franchise or starter. Like, because every horror movie is always trying to recapture Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers, etc.
Sure.
And it feels like that. Whereas The Conjuring was something else that we just weren't used to seeing at that time. Yeah. And that's felt novel.
Yeah,
so
that was more about the
know?
director, which is interesting. Like,
we got
maybe
the pendulum's just
the director to keep going. Yeah, could be.
We're no longer even talking about this movie.
Yeah.
Anything you guys want to mention before we go and rate Willy's Wonderland? Sounds like a no.
I've ever smelled before in my life.
Nothing I've ever smelled before in my life. Let's go and rate Willy's Wonderland out of 5. Juice, why don't you kick us off? How do you feel?
Yeah, I don't feel great about it, but it's not like so offensive or anything. Like I said, they kept it short. I think Randy was saying I never felt like anybody was doing just like such a bad job, but also I just never really thought anybody was particularly doing a good job. I feel like there was some potential here, not anything I'm particularly like so drawn to that I need to see it done well, but enough that where I could see they really could do what they set out to do. Like I said, this quirky type of violent, over the top kind of comedic beats horror film. And I just don't think it's able to deliver on any aspect that it wanted. Everything feels like it's like a little cheap or not really executed well, or I don't know. It's just, I never really was like pulled into this. I never was able to allow myself to just like enjoy it fully. Like Randy said, it's easy to see the seams on a lot of this. Which could have been okay. I don't know. I feel like just some slight changes could have really brought this up quite a bit. Yeah, I think I'll just get, I think a 2. A 2 is fine for this movie. It's not so bad, but I don't even think it's necessarily medium for me. So yeah, 2. Bob, out of 5. Where are you rating Willy's Wonderland?
Hello. Yeah, I mean, this movie's not like reinventing anything by any means. I think Nick Cage does enough to like keep me interested in the movie for the length of its runtime. It is definitely a short movie, which I think is to its benefit because there's not a whole lot going on plot-wise. I like the little bit of backstory that we get from the killers and the animatronics and Willy's Wonderland. I think all that stuff is pretty interesting. I think there are some good kills happening here. I think they probably could have been amped up and done a little bit better. There's a handful that are just like, the cam is just fucking shaking like nuts, and then Nick Cage just kind of gets sprayed with some oil, and it's like, well, that could have been done a little bit better. I like Nick Cage's quirks and stuff. I think he's pretty funny, even though he's not like ever saying anything. There's a handful of action sequences that are done pretty well. The animatronics themselves, I think you definitely see like the low ass budget in their designs. I wish they had a little bit of extra cash to kind of beef them up some. But overall, like I was never like really bored or like offended by anything that happened in this movie. I think it's like it's a decent like afternoon watch that I don't know. It's like it's not one that I would like scream from the mountaintops everybody has to watch, but I wouldn't like deter anybody from watching it either. I don't know. It's kind of a goofy ass Nick Cage movie. I think there's more good than bad in it. So I'm gonna go with a 3 out of 5 on it. Randu, how do you feel about Willy's Wonderland?
So as you guys were talking, I wrote down a couple of things. The things that I think would
bananas,
this movie.
Tomatoes.
Yeah, I was writing a shopping list.
Lawnmower salad.
The things that I think would have made this movie elevate this movie beyond its station as it is right now is have some pithy dialogue from Nick. Let him and some like crazy grunting and like screaming. A little bit more like lean into Nick Cage as the insane, violent sociopath or whatever. Just do that. Let him do that. And I understand that maybe it was a artistic decision to not have him speak, but I don't think it was a good one for this particular kind of movie. Better save that for Pig. And then the dialogue, punch up that dialogue, man. It is not clever enough. It feels unfunny enough to me to be padding a lot of the time. I just don't dig it. And if I would say add more like taunting from the animatronics, I would lean into the DIY a little bit more. We can see that these are people in costumes. We can see this is just a woman with a mask on her head. You might as well like, cut it out with the post-production stuff and just let it be Evil Dead style. Like go analog with it. Cause there's a few shots in this that are like really bad CG of things crawling in the background or like, jumping off screen or some of it's not good. Tighten the editing in general, just tighten it in general and like, make things a little punchier. I know that you're kind of 80 minutes, but write in an extra scene where you get a little bit more pathos, where you destroy the pinball machine and give your hero a reason to step out of his normal box and get even bigger. The oh shit moment. And then last, just maybe a little bit more creativity in the fights overall. And that requires a little bit more flexibility in your setting. Like your settings you're good, but they're not great and they're not really utilized all that much with your fights. So utilize the space you're in. You've got these sets that are at least nice enough to like feel like what they're supposed to feel like. Use them a little bit better in my opinion. Those things, and I think you've got a pretty fun popcorn movie. I think that as it is right now, it's just sort of like half-baked is really the problem. So for me, I think I'm going to come right in the middle. Well, actually, let me do some positives real quick. I agree with Bob. Like the setup, the lore behind it. They only spend like 1 or 1.5 scenes on it. It's a good setting. It's a good setup. It's a good like. I think that a movie could do really well with this concept. But like, and then like some of the sets look good. Some the production value on like the welcome video and the pinball machine and things like that. Those are pretty good for a low budget movie. There's some good stuff here, but it just kind of falls short for me. So I'm gonna come right in between you guys with a 2.5. It's just right down the middle for me. I see a great movie under the surface of this, but as it is, it just does not reach the heights it wants to reach.
All right. With Randy's 2.5, that's going to put our aggregate at a 2.5. And Alice did send in an email with some of her thoughts. Juice, do you have that pulled up?
I do. It starts off, "What up, nerds? Just wanted to throw in my 2 cents about Willy's Wonderland and my opinion. This was silly Nick Cage role that a lot of people might have slept on, and I thought it'd be a fun discussion. Is it a masterpiece? No, but it's not trying to be. It's just a no frills, outrageous, doesn't run too long, good old popcorn movie. 3.5. Okay, bye.
Hashtag hard with Randy, I see.
Hashtag no butt stuff, Bob.
Whoa. Man, this is
Only on
not the forum.
Wednesdays.
This is not the forum for your bedroom talk. Yeah, no, I appreciate that she said something there that I did think throughout the movie, which is like it's not trying to be more than what it is. That I feel like is true.
Yeah.
Like I think this movie does have a sense of what I don't think it quite reaches what it wants to be, but it's clear what it's going for to me. And that much the intentionality is there, and that's that can be way off for a lot of different movies, especially with shoestring budgets like this. It can be really easy to fall off that track, so they at least get that credit for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for picking this week's flick, and send us an email, Alice.
Thank you.
2.5 from the Straight Chilling crew. Let's jump over into a Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about Willy's Wonderland.
Certified fresh to death.
All right, ladies and germs, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to have these gentlemen guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate positive review scores are on RottenTomatoes.com for this film. So starting with, I think we'll start with Juice today. We have the critics consensus, or the critics review. There are 90 reviews to aggregate here, so not quite 100. Where do you think those 90 critics are going to fall on a 0 to 100% positive scale?
I don't think it's going to be too high, Randus. I don't think it's going to be too high. I'll go pretty close to our score and say a 55.
55. Okay. Bob, how about you? You going over? You going under? You going way under? You going way over? What are you thinking?
Those are a lot of options. I'm overwhelmed.
I know.
Paralyzed with choice. This is not a critics movie by any means. I don't think this is going to be super high on the critics here. If I had to take the over under here, I'm going to go under with a 48.
48. All right. Well, Bob, you whiffed it. It's a 60% positive. So Soju's going to take it.
That's pretty good. That's better than I thought.
Yeah, that's what you gave it, Bob.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's
after all. Are we done making onomatopoeia sounds?
Until I get another one, yeah.
Please continue, Randy.
Critics' consensus reads as follows. Willy's Wonderland isn't quite as much fun as its premise would suggest, but it's still got Nick Cage beating the hell out of bloodthirsty animatronics, which is nice. I think that's fair.
That's really nice. Yeah,
that's just really nice.
That's nice.
That's a real nice item.
I really approve of the nicety here.
Mm-hmm.
There's over 1,000 audience ratings for this film. Do we want to start jumping into that scoring? We'll start with Bob. Out of those 1,000+ ratings, what percentage do you think were positive?
Yeah, I would think. Well, I don't know. There's a hell of a lot more, so it's probably going to be a bit lower than the critics because it's a much larger number of people weighing in here. I'll take a 55, please.
55. It's a popular number. Juice, where are you going with that? Bob stole your winner from the last round.
He did.
What about you?
It is a larger number. I think it's probably going to be close, honestly. I think everyone's going to be just kind of like, on this movie. So I'll take the critics number and I'll take the 60.
60. Okay. All right. Juice, you did good, buddy. It's a 68%.
Whoa, that's a
fucking A.
Bob, I've been whooping it. Woo.
I've been whooping it.
Oh my god, just the mouth sounds that happen during the Rotten Tomatoes segment. It's hard-hitting criticism here today.
We have to be serious during our critique. This is when we finally get to let loose.
Oh yeah, we have to be serious. I assure you, we never have to be serious because nobody takes us seriously.
Your
audience
mom does.
We just hit your mom joke bedrock.
Your mom does. Not even your mom.
That's what your mom said.
Yeah, but your mom does, bruh.
God is us. Upside.
Yeah, your mom does, bruh.
Audience says the story isn't great, but it's got fun 80s slasher movie feel and Nick Cage using random objects to destroy homicidal kitty characters. What else do you need? Well, I just listed several things, but that's all right.
Oh shit. Shouts out to Randy's mom for all of her mad support over the
Shouts
years.
out to your mom.
Your mom. Oh shit. That wrecked me.
Like nothing
Thank
I'd
you.
ever smelled before in my life.
Thank you.
Your mom does. It's not even a clean your mom.
I don't know how to your mom joke anymore. I'm too old. I aged out of it.
Your mom's old, Rob.
Oh shit. God his ass. Oh shit.
Your mom
It's
aged
not-
out of it.
Lay down, bro. You're dead. You're so dead.
You're
Lay down.
dead.
Take the L, bro.
Take the L. Is that you got any goofy shit you want to read? Anything else
I got another part of this that I usually do. Here we go. I'm going to read a negative review, and hopefully there's some humor in it, and it's not just, boring. The result, nearly 90 minutes of wordless Cage beating fluffy mascots with broom handles while hard rock plays on the soundtrack. It could be ironic commentary or an art film stunt, but it's mostly agony. Boo.
I don't think it's any of that, really.
I don't think it's any of that. I think somebody needs to loosen the butt plug a little bit.
A tight butt plug.
So it's just an extra. I say I got it sexed to extra tight.
Which I guess means it's
are there
massive?
settings on butt plugs?
Yeah,
I don't.
I
know.
don't think so. I don't
I'm
think
sure
so.
you don't know.
That's our voicemail prompt this week. If you have butt plug experience, call in and tell us the ropes.
Tell us
Is it
about
like
the
gauges in your
settings.
ears? You have to work up to that size.
Yes. that is-
This is your boy, Groju.
Groj?
I'm calling about the butt.
I'll call my name is
because
Groj.
we wouldn't recognize your phone number and would have no idea it's you calling.
This is your boy, Groju.
Sounds like your mom, bro.
Your mom aged out of butt plugs.
Here's one more. Here's one more negative review. Maybe this one will be good. Willy's Wonderland wastes its unique production design and potentially clever premise by just becoming another repetitive slasher flick. The rampaging animatronic mascots in the film have more memorable personalities than the human characters. I don't think that's entirely wrong, but it's not funny. So
Nah,
No,
come on.
So-
That's not what we come here for.
entertain me, random reviewer.
that's a tight butt plug review right there. Loosen your shit, please.
Okay.
Loosen.
I got-
Hashtag no butt stuff, Bob.
Hashtag loosen your shit. I have a little bit of trivia for this. There wasn't a whole heck of a lot. But let's get into it real quick.
It's totally time for trivia.
Indeed. So yeah, like I said, Nick Cage, he was a producer on this movie. Apparently he was like super protective of the script and the overall idea. I guess he just bought way into it. Apparently the look of the crocodile animatronic was inspired by a Soviet cartoon called Gina the Crocodile from 1969, which is interesting.
Okay. Kind of just reminded me of that old like little board game or whatever.
Yeah,
They used to have that
I-
alligator or whatever.
I think you had to like pull an alligator's teeth or something.
No, that's what made me think of.
Sounds cruel to me. One of the other producers of the movie, Grant Kramer, is the actor who played Mike Tobacco in Killer Clowns from Outer Space in 1988.
I was gonna bring up Killer Clowns. 'cause
I
it's kinda
actually
like an
was
inverse
too.
of this,
Yeah,
where
there were
the-
a couple moments.
The killers
yeah.
are silent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Except for that one fucking great line that drops in Killer Clowns, which I won't spoil. It's watch Killer Clowns if you haven't, people. Check it out. And then listen to our review of it because it's good.
Yeah. That was
This is good.
that's a couple years ago now. Whoa.
It was. Yeah, it
Jesus
was.
Christ.
I know.
Apparently, this is Nick Cage's 8th horror movie. So he did Vampire's Kiss, 1988, Wicker Man, 2006, Season of the Witch, 2011, Pay the Ghost, 2015, Mom and Dad, 2017, Mandy, 2018, Color Out of Space, 2019.
I've never heard of Pay the Ghost.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it, actually. He's like, I think he's a detective. I think it's got some like Sixth Sense vibes, I think. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but...
Okay.
And then what is it? He's got something coming out this year, doesn't? Oh, the Renfield movie.
Renfield, he plays fucking Dracula. He's back to his vampire roots. Vampire's Kiss, 1988.
But like London After Midnight style. I do like the way he looks in that. I'm not sure I like the look of the movie, but
yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I didn't hate it as much. Like, it seemed to get a lot of bad kind of feelings, but I was like, I don't know. This could go either way.
I would try. It's two actors in it that I do really like.
Me too.
And
yeah,
it was funny enough, even though it was a little bit like obvious, maybe.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. Go ahead.
Despite the fact Nick Cage's character's name's never revealed, at the 3-minute mark of the movie, you can see a military ID hanging from his rear view mirror. So I guess that's how he's able to kick so much ass.
I thought it was the cola, bro.
Yeah.
Punch.
The punch, was it Punch Pop?
Punch.
I couldn't get a good look at what it was called.
Yeah.
It's called Punch.
Punch Pop. That dude just slugs the sodas in this movie.
Yeah. I don't think he'd be quite as fit if he was just chugging soda
Every hour? No.
Yeah.
Just got a sack full of sodas.
I got a sack full of
A
soda.
trunk full.
A trunk full and a sack full.
Well,
got a
soda
regular
in the trunk
wagon
and in the junk.
Yeah, a wagon full of soda.
it's a
Holler
full
around.
trunk, Nick Cage.
That's a full wagon.
Fuck yeah.
With
Damn.
juice.
The last bit of trivia I have here, actually I have two. Nick Cage, shockingly enough, improv the pinball dance. And the last bit I have is they released a prequel comic book series. I think there's 4 books that were released a few years after this movie came out that does get into the backstory of the serial killers and shit.
A few years. I
so-
thought they just came out in like 2021.
Yeah, so maybe it was 2022. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I think it was June. It was the following summer, so it must have been.
Yeah, it's 2022.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. That is all the trivia I have for this movie. Let's get into our Cooter of the Week.
Straight chillin'.
Gooder of the week!
Juice, what's a Cooter? Why do we hunt them?
Oh, Cooter's character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter, but we want the Cooter with the most points. 5 points of Cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, do we have a Cooter this week?
I don't know that we have many non-Cooters in this week.
Okay.
Wow.
What do you think?
I don't know. It just seems
Tex
like this- it seems
McAdoo?
like- Yeah, we could start with Tex. Sure. Why don't you kick us off? What's his first?
Tex
tip?
McAdoo. Well, a lot of people are hitting on the manipulation because
I think just about everybody,
yeah,
except for Nick and the kids.
so manipulation. I would also add in smug arrogance because he's like driving around in this dude's car and he's kind of taking
I hate
pleasure
to
in
hear
that.
a grown man scream. and all
Yeah.
that shit.
So I would say those 2 things. I cannot remember how Tex McAdoo died, and so that could add to patheticness if he died in a pathetic kind of way. Anybody remember?
He got blown up by the pixie in his trunk.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh
At the very
yeah.
end.
Okay, maybe not.
It's
then.
fine.
What
It's
about
fine.
what about the tow truck guy?
I mean, he's kind of hitting the same notes. Honestly.
Yeah,
He's
that's why.
manipulative as fuck.
Did he die in a pathetic way? That's what I'm
Does
searching
he died in the
for.
same incident? Like,
Oh,
they
well,
both died together.
Yeah.
Well,
He's pathetic
So-
for sucking on that meat.
yeah.
That's a look.
Maybe
in
that's
attire
looking
issue.
attire. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
Jerky
think that
mouth.
I think that maybe like
See it every day.
I mean, we could. I think the obvious answer, when you like think about it, is like the serial killers who are now living inside of animatronic characters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Manipulation. They like just knowing their backstory. They manipulated parents into bringing their kids there to be murdered. Their smug arrogance in that they like started this little cult and they were like so arrogant to think that they could like survive by doing the satanic ritual. Just so happens they were right.
They look like cartoon characters.
They look like fucking cartoon characters. At least one of those people ended up in a very feminine robot, so he's got gender swapped. I don't think there was any mention. I think that they were implied or shown to be all men serial killers. No female serial killers were on.
That's a good point, huh? Well, yeah, I didn't think about
whoever
that.
was in that pixie outfit wound up getting kind of fucked over.
The frog one sounded
that's
feminine
true too.
as well.
There was also a femininity. I don't know. Like
Whatever,
I guess that's not the biggest thing, but there's a patheticness to the need to letting a cult of cannibals manipulate your mind into thinking you have to kill yourself. I think maybe that's a little pathetic. I don't know if you guys agree with that. Sexual deviancy. I don't know if there's a whole lot of sexual deviancy implied in this.
There wasn't a strong implication.
With the exception of maybe one of the creatures watching.
That's true. Watching, banging out.
But it was more of a stalking thing. I don't think he would have been. I think he was there. Would have been there either way. So.
Yeah.
Tough to say.
And they skipped out on the Yabos. I mean,
I don't know. I think that those I don't know. They hit higher on things like everybody's a manipulator in this movie. I feel like we got kind of just
like across.
I think you got to blanket sweep the entirety of Hayesville or whatever this town's called,
and a decent amount of smug arrogance as well.
Yeah, and some
Scootertown, USA.
Yeah,
Hayesville.
Yeah. Let's just book them. Let's book the whole town. Small town USA.
We got it all. The whole thing.
Oh yeah.
Lock them up.
More shit I gotta do now.
A lot of paperwork.
All right, Cooters caught.
We got them. Now we can finally relax and talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Let me time out real quick and restart this because I got a crazy lag.
Deal.
2 seconds.
Nick Cage just fucking dispatches demons with all of the charisma of somebody taking out the trash, literally. It's very strange.
Yeah.
It's I kind of want him to be more Bruce Campbell in this movie.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, connecting that to Evil Dead. Yeah. That's a good point. Look at this extra commentary people are getting on behind the scenes.
I know. Nobody's getting this but you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just for you.
You're so special. We love you. Thank you for watching.
Limited Liability Corporation.
I was like, we love you. Join Straight Chilling After Dark now.
Weird. I'm looking up this comic, the Willy's Wonderland comic. There's quite a few issues. It looks like.
Is there a big call for that?
I don't know, but it seems like a small imprint of some kind.
Okay.
Trying to, it's, it could be self-published or something. I don't know. I don't think it is. It looks like it's just a smaller company releasing them. Comixology.
All right, you guys ready to roll?
Sure.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I'll hit record, and then Randy, I'll ask you what you've been watching. You can kick us off.
Sounds good.
All right, here we go. Randy, what you been watching?
Well, first and foremost, I decided to ruin the Jacksonville Jaguars' chances at a Super Bowl this year by watching the first game
Thanks,
of the season that I've seen.
Randy.
Thank you.
I'm happy to have been of service. I'm so glad
Every
that
time.
the streak of disappointment as being a defining characteristic of the Jaguars with me watching it is just holding true. I'm glad they had a great season, or a good season. But yeah, sorry everyone, I jinxed it. I also watched the movie Sick, which Bob, you are reviewing in our mini episode for patrons on Patreon. I thought I still have mixed feelings about it a little bit, but I think that it's a pretty serviceable slasher. I think it's fine. It's got some shortcomings though. I don't want to get into it, and I don't want to blow up your spot either. So take a listen to Bob. Chances are I'm somewhere in that zone. I also recorded a mini episode myself for Mithrigan. So if you are interested in Mithrigan and you want to watch Mithrigan for yourself, be sure and listen to my Mithrigan breakdown after the fact. It was my first time doing it on my own. I'm actually contributing. Look, Daddy, no hands. And I'll tell you one thing. I'm not very good at it yet. So
yes, but Randy, that's the best mini episode you're ever gonna get. Stay tuned for that. Make sure you keep contributing.
It may be the best you'll ever get from me because I don't know. I also rewatched a movie called Searching, which came out a few years ago with John Cho. And it was the one that was like, it was found footage-y sort of thing where it was done through the computer. You're looking at a computer desktop, every bit of footage and call or whatever happens on screen. A guy's daughter goes missing and he's searching for her. That's the whole thing. It's a pretty good movie. And I watched it because there's another movie by that same director whose name is escaping me right now called Missing, I think, that kind of does a similar thing, but it seems like a pretty similar movie, at least ostensibly. So I'm excited to check it out. Hopefully they have some more uniqueness to it after you get past those things. But I like Searching quite a bit, and I'm excited at the possibility that Missing could be good too. You know, I'm a sucker for those found footagey things. Let's see. Last but not least, I did watch a movie called Treasure of the Sierra Madre, which was inspired by Miles on our Slack, bringing it up, talking about watching it and talking about Humphrey Bogart films. And that's one that I have never seen. And that's a pretty fucking great movie. I don't think it's my favorite bogey movie by any means. It's a little bit more straightforward than like a Casablanca, or certainly more straightforward than like The Big Sleep. It's not really a film noir, but he plays a pretty loathsome character, and it's kind of fun. I got a lot of Tom Waits vibes out of him in that movie, if that might be a selling point for Bob in particular.
Yes, that would be a selling point for sure.
So yeah, I did like it quite a bit. And I'm gonna have maybe go into the vault for more classics this month. I'm enjoying that. Cool. Might need to rewatch Casablanca itself, and then maybe a couple other things. Maybe go into
Casablanca.
Noir. It's good. I hadn't seen it until very, very recently. I brought it up on the podcast. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I would like to watch it a second time when I'm not as dog tired as I happen to be that day. But yeah, that's it for me.
Nice. Juice, what you been watching?
I watched Prisoners for the cast with Wax and the Porpoise. Not to spoil it too much, but I liked it. And I think there's a lot to chew on with that movie. Interestingly enough, it's about a guy whose daughter goes missing, just like what Randy was talking about. So wild. I finished Tar, which I mentioned last week, and actually really liked that. It was pretty good. That was good. It was a movie. It's a movie about not a composer, who's the person who leads the orchestra? Conductor. Thank you. Conductor, and she. So it sounds like it should be boring because it's mostly just her life. And it's all about kind of classical music, but like the politics and stuff of it. And it's like almost 2.5 hours long, but blew by for me. I found it quite interesting. Performances were really good. And has a real punch at the end there. So yeah, I liked that. I watched John Wick 3 because the fourth one's coming out, and I was like, did I see the third one? And I did, and it's my least favorite. It's still got some cool stuff in it. Halle Berry is just, I'm not a huge Halle Berry fan. She's in that movie. She's pretty plain. But I watched that. I watched that episode of The Last of Us, which came out on HBO. I think the second one's coming out tonight, so I might watch it after this cast. Pretty good. I never played the game. So I think that's kind of good though, because I have zero expectations. So yeah, it was pretty solid. I started to watch Blue Velvet, which I've never seen before. And I have not finished it. I'm about halfway through, I think. Old David Lynch, man, he's got a weird style. A lot of people like to think Eraserhead and stuff, but really Twin Peaks, Mulholland Drive, Blue Velvet, that weird
Eraserhead.
Well, no, I was saying people like to think of Eraserhead, but I'm like Mulholland Drive and Twin Peaks and Blue Velvet have that more like wacky,
dark
offbeat, sitcom
things hiding
going
under the surface.
on. Yeah. Very weird guy, weird style. What?
You're the first to ever say something.
I know. Hot takes over here.
I thought it was pretty reg, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just the most baseline by numbers filmmaker of all time. I think we can all
agree. Let's see. Did I watch anything else? I don't. That's all that's coming to my mind. I'm almost done with Hollow Knight, which is kind of a little sad, but it's that game's still really enjoying that one. That one's still intense, but I've almost got all the charms, so coming up on the end there. But that's all I've been watching. Robert, what you been watching, my guy?
I had a couple like rewatches this week. Put on Catch Me If You Can, which is absolutely
classic.
Baller Spielberg movie, Tom Hanks movie.
I saw I saw a discussion recently where people are like, what's the last greatest Spielberg film, like great Spielberg film?
It might be that.
And that one came up a lot. Yeah, that's a great movie. Mm-hmm.
Highly recommend that if you haven't seen Catch Me If You Can. It's fucking fantastic. Also, bit of a Tom Hanks kick, I guess, because I also rewatched That Thing You Do. Fucking classic, classic movie. Tom Hanks is in it, but also wrote and directed it. If you somehow have not seen That Thing You Do, it's fucking phenomenal. Treat yourself to that. And also Cabin in the Woods. Rewatched that this week. It's still good, man. It's still Joss Whedon's masterpiece, I guess. I don't know, like his greatest one.
I don't think there's going to be a whole lot added to that list for a while. So.
Yeah, he's kind of he's a doo-doo person, right? He's
he's got some doo-doo in it.
Is he?
No. I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah, it's pretty well established at this point.
That's not great. That's a bummer. That's a good movie though.
Can never watch Avengers again. Damn.
Check out some like newer shows this week too. Juice, you brought up The Last of Us. First episode was solid as hell. Honestly, I thought it was great. It brought to mind like it felt like The Walking Dead when it first started. That's like kind of the vibe it had.
Sure.
I'm excited to like get deeper into like the universe that they're building. I never played the games or anything. But they're throwing that HBO money at it, and I'm sure it's going to continue to be as good as that first episode is. I have no doubt, really. I watched the first episode of That 90s Show on Netflix. My expectations for this show was like rock bottom. Really couldn't have been any lower. And it was better than I thought it would be, which, like I said, I was expecting nothing at all. You can definitely tell that they gave them like $12 to make this show. Like there is no budget. The newer kids,
why even make it then?
I don't know.
Why?
Like, no, wait, hold on a second though, because the original was not it's
Not
like
high budget,
pure sitcom.
It
They use
is
3
pure
sets.
sitcom.
They have
Yeah.
shitty like one-liners back and
Well,
forth,
the
and they have laugh
thing-
track between every sentence. It's just the standard formula for a
The
sitcom. at the
thing,
time.
it feels cheaper than it used to look, man. It
Oh,
totally
really?
does.
Is
Yeah.
it? Okay.
So like the lighting in it is dark, and maybe they figured it out on episode 2 or episode 3. Like I said, I just watched the first one. I don't know. The lighting looks bad, and like they didn't really make any sort of like intro. It's just sort of like that 90s show, fuck yourself. Like, and like it's just it feels like very cheaply, quickly thrown together, and I don't. It's kind of impossible to recapture that 70s show charm, because that show works because of the entire cast together, and this is just not that, obviously. But I'll probably watch a little bit more. It's like 10 episodes. I doubt that I'm going to finish the season, and it'll probably get canceled after one season if I had to guess.
It's probably going to be.
It's also
That
like
original. Go ahead.
kind of 90s. Like it's not. I'm happy they're not like jamming the 90s down your fucking throat. That's nice, but like I don't know, it's fine. I also watched on HBO the first 2 episodes of that Velma show, which is like a
Velma show.
Yeah,
These spin-offs are getting out of control.
It's like a Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc. origin show that is definitely told through Velma's point of view, and it's also like a more adult version of Scooby-Doo. Like the first episode opens up with like a bunch of naked ass cartoon characters showering. There's just like cartoon titties everywhere, and it's nobody needs like an origin story for the fucking
Nobody needs
Scooby-Doo
Yabos
gang.
and Scooby-Doo.
Nobody
on.
fucking needs
We've
Yabos.
seen origin stories for the Scooby-Doo gang, but they
Yeah,
are
it's called
like
a pup named Scooby-Doo.
explicit. I just don't give a shit about these these kids' properties being turned into adult properties. It's pointless
It's
to me.
dumb. It's fucking dumb. The first 2
Dumb.
episodes were just like, I was floored at how stupid they were. And it definitely feels, and I could be wrong, I don't know, I just watched the first 2 episodes, but it feels like the creators were like way more interested in like, we're shaking this property up, you motherfuckers have no idea what's coming next, fucking titties and these cockroaches are fucking, and like it's gonna
Isn't
blow
there a
your,
microcock in that
blow
movie?
your
In that
fucking
show?
mind. Yeah, and like Fred is the stereotypical stupid, rich, entitled white dude who literally has a small dick, and they make fun of him for it. And it's just like, no, this is not an interesting story. You're doing this to like shake shit up, motherfuckers. This is not a good story.
I'm not going to forgive
this
this show for wasting Glenn Howerton and another waste of Glenn Howerton.
Dude, that dude needs to not get wasted.
Yeah, it's just not like you could tell like a very original, interesting Scooby-Doo story through like a perspective of like a character like that's framed in a way that we've never seen before, that could be cool. Like Mystery Inc. is kind of a spin on Scooby-Doo that we hadn't seen before, that is an interesting story, and like this is not interested in telling a good story. It does not seem like that to me.
It seems like a headline grab where it's just there to make people like people be like, I can't believe Velma said cunt on TV,
dude. Yeah,
like
it's
nobody needs this,
and they're like, it also feels like they're trying to be like, hey, we're being inclusive by like changing the race and the sexual orientation of these very classic characters, and like that's cool. I'm down with that idea, but the way they do it also feels like very exploitative, and like, this is what you fucking want, right, assholes? Like, here you go. It just doesn't, the characters are not handled with care at all. I don't like it. It sucks. Don't watch it. That's it. That's all I've been watching. End of rant. All right. We got
we nailed
it. Yeah, we got one more segment to get into, and that is, of course, our Hotline Screams.
Hotline Screams.
If you are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We got 2 voicemails and also an email this week. First voicemail we're going to hear is from our boy, 2 p.m. Todd.
How do, chillin' crew? Can I get a little hail skate and a little hail skate and a yabba dabba do for a Randy 2? The one and only 2 p.m. Todd just got done listening to Skinamarink, and that movie was boring as shit. But on to other pressing matters. Understand this is a support line for soju shitting in showers and then reusing corn and peanuts in a casserole. So I'm not really sure what to think about that. My dreams, well, they are deep, dark, and disturbing, but the one that gets me the most is my inability to breathe or move, and then my body starts to like try to wake up, and it's quite frightening. So that's always awesome. Last but not least, I'm looking forward to your cast for the Nick Cage movie. My 12-year-old son is obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's and convinced me to let him watch Willy Wonderland as I had seen it. And I tried to tell him at the front end that Nicolas Cage doesn't say a word. He didn't believe me. And throughout the whole movie, he kept saying, I can't believe he's not going to say one word through the whole movie. So, anyway, it's an interesting one. Hope all's well with you guys. Thanks for all you do. Keep chillin'. 2 p.m. out.
Damn,
Not
2
one
p.m.
mention-
Todd, where you been?
Where you
No
been?
No mention of Beef O'Brady's at all. I can't believe it.
Yeah,
He's evolved. He's
Yeah.
not the
I
same
guess
Todd
so.
we once knew.
I will get here's a little serious helpful tip. So I don't have a lot of sleep paralysis where I kind of like see crazy shit, but what Todd just described has happened to me a few times before. And what I always heard a tip, I don't remember where I heard this, but I kind of use this, is to focus on wiggling your toes, because you're in some kind of like in between consciousness where like your body wants to sleep or something, and so you need like some kind of like little focus thing. So I always focus on like wiggling your toes, and it can kind of help you snap out of that like state.
And yeah, that definitely is sleep paralysis, what you're
Okay,
describing, Todd.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just,
Sounds horrifying. I've never experienced that, and hopefully, fingers crossed I don't. That sounds like truly scary.
It really sucks, yeah, because you do go into this like panic mode of like, why the fuck can I move? So then it gives you this little taste of like if you ended up in like a coma or something, you really could move, and it'd be like, because it sucks.
Jesus Christ.
Wiggle them toes, boys.
Yeah, hasn't happened to me a lot, but a handful of times, and it sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never
Wiggle
had
that ass.
Wiggle, 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 wiggle.
Well, I'm glad that we were able to talk about a movie that Todd could share with his son. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's actually like an interesting thing, because like this, I didn't think about it, because I mean, obviously this is capitalizing Five Nights at Freddy's, but the fact that there is no nudity.
Yeah.
I kind of think that, I mean, now I'm like, oh, well, that's obviously intentional.
But it's
right? Like,
hyper
that's not-
sexualized. I mean, there's a sex scene though.
There is, but it's like, as long as there's no nipples, parents don't give a shit, I think, is kind of the I think
only
that's
dicks.
As long as
I need
it's
my
logic.
kids to see dicks.
As long as
no
it's
nipples.
only extra violent, that's all. That's all fine.
Dude, well, that is true.
I know.
We're fine.
We're fine. Yeah.
We're fine.
And we got all up in arms about some spider yabos and Perfect Blue or whatever that movie is called.
2 p.m. Todd has 2 rules for his kids. 1, no Beef O'Brady's. 2, no fucking nipples. That's it.
you shall not see a nipple.
Yeah. What was
No
that
beef
movie
out.
with
No
the,
nips.
with the spider yabos? What was that?
Oh,
It was Wicked City.
Wicked
Yeah,
City.
Wicked City. Yeah.
Thank you,
That shit
Randy.
was wild.
Yeah.
I have it queued up all the time.
Yeah.
Spider
On
titties.
loop.
for the slow
I
stroke.
keep it on a tab.
Yeah. Bob was up in arms about that one.
We
Was?
can't review this.
They were. What a
okay.
bunch of perverts these Japanese are.
Oh,
I mean,
that is
that's
not
what.
at all what I said. Put me on blast
Just-
just before I go to the country, get my ass
You
fucking
spend
murdered.
a few years in Korea, and your racist nature towards Japanese just spills right out.
That was.
I've been learning some stuff about those guys.
I was quoting
Let me
Bob
tell
there.
you.
That was
Oh,
through Bob's mouth.
Through Bob's mouth.
Through Bob's. We've all been through Bob's mouth a time or two.
we got another voicemail. Next up, we're gonna hear from our boy Jack. Let's hear what he's got to say.
What's happening, guys? It's Jack. I haven't called in a while. Been living life. I'm getting kind of fat, which I don't like. And I was curious. I was like, you know, you guys are a bit older, so you've been through it. What is your go-to healthy food? Like, I'm on a diet. It's January. Let's shed some pounds. Like, what's your go-to? This is actually delicious and doesn't make me hate myself. And then what is your go-to? I've given in to my worst impulses. I'm going to sit on the couch and indulge for 2 hours and feel nothing. I think for me, my favorite, I had a period of my life where I was really into boxing for some reason. I don't know why. And I ate nothing but like chicken and rice for fucking like a whole summer. And I was lean, man. I must have like, I could walk around. It felt like my stats went up, man. I was so healthy. And I think my most indulgent food is just ice cream. I could destroy a pint of ice cream on my couch like nobody's business. You should time me. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so thanks for helping me out with my diet and also my eventual not diet. Later.
I could outstrip you on the couch eating an ice cream any day of the week. Jack.
Amateur.
Okay. That's a good question.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know if I don't know if I have like a snack that is like strictly healthy, but when I am trying to diet, the snack I go to is a measured amount of like cocktail peanuts. Like that's but you know, it's real easy to overdo those too. So you got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
But if I'm going for a snack, it's that. And if I'm going you know, abandon all hope ye who enter here mode, then I'm getting the spicy jalapeno Cheetos, of course.
So good.
And ice cream. And everything else, really. There's no one thing.
I love that Jack was like, oh man, I'm getting kind of fat. Better call Straight Chilling Boys.
Yeah, we'll give you the tips. We're super lean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm getting fat. You guys are a little older. You guys are kind of fat. Why don't you tell me what it's like to be fat and old?
Yeah. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. Hashtag. I think probably the healthiest snack that like is still extremely delicious to me is I'll take just some plain ass pretzels and dip them in tzatziki sauce, which is mostly just like yogurt and like some chopped up cucumbers and dill. So like it's not too terrible for you. But that shit is fucking fire to me. I love it. If I'm going as hard as I can in the paint, it's fast food. And it'd be like a sack of cheese crystals with fries or like 2 or 3 7-layer burritos from Taco Bell. That's
want to go get some jujubes with me?
Yeah.
Dude, Taco Bell, I mean, that's a dangerous place.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm going to eat myself to death, you're gonna find me in a Taco Bell bathroom dead. That's what's gonna happen.
Lord. I agree with Jack.
I won't be the first.
I love some ice cream, of course, you know, and we all know that. So I really do love to indulge in some ice cream, especially when I'm in the States and there's so many ridiculous choices that are all amazingly delicious and very, very fattening. And I don't know, like it's a lot easier for me to eat healthier in Korean because a lot of like Korean based dishes are pretty healthy. So like bibimbap is just like a rice bowl that's got mushrooms and carrots and cucumbers and like a little bit of meat, and then like gochujang, spicy red pepper paste on like top or whatever. You mix it all up. It's like really good, and they have a lot of like meals like that are just very vegetable based and stuff. So yeah, as far as like a snack, I guess like, is hummus healthy? Hummus is pretty good.
Yeah, the thing is, like, anything in moderation.
Yeah, that's the thing is well, the thing I like about hummus too is it's easy to dip other vegetable, like, you know, I don't mind dipping like some cucumber. I'll tear up some cucumber. I love cucumber. Like slices, I'll dip it in some stuff, you know, hummus or whatever. I really do love the fresh, like crisp taste of cucumber. So I guess that's my kind of like super healthy snack. Eggs too. I really like to cook. I know eggs are super expensive right now, but when they are not expensive, I really just love to cook a lot of like egg dish, you know, eggs, and that's like that'll get you pretty lean, I guess.
Dude, if you want a meal that is incredibly cheap, this is like sweeping America right now. It's becoming thing. If you want a cheap, well, less cheap now because it's got eggs in it, a cheap and also pretty healthy meal, it's shakshuka, which is like, you know, like a tomato sort of paste sort of thing, sort of tomato dish that you just crack an egg on top of in a pan, a skillet, and then it like forms around the egg. It's tough to describe, but it's very delicious. It's an Israeli dish, I believe.
Damn.
But that's like, man, it's low cal for the most part, unless you overdo it. And when eggs aren't expensive, it's also inexpensive. So
there you go. Nice.
You can eat quite easy on that.
Love some
and
eggs.
easy as shit to make once you
straight cooking over here.
Dude, we could talk about food easily.
Yeah.
we
got that Slack channel for that.
Yeah,
so,
hang out on the Slack.
If you're interested in the Straight Chilling Crew's food advice, first of all, note that we do not give advice, and advice is not what we're giving. Use at your own risk. # Limited Liability Corporation. Second, come on our Slack channel where we talk about food. We talk about all sorts of shit.
Yeah, we trade recipes and shit. People take pictures of what they've been cooking up, and we get into it.
Yeah.
Rigatoni.
Thanks for calling in, Jack. Hope you're doing well, man. Been a minute. Lastly, we got an email sent in from the librarian. You got that pulled up, Juice?
I do, and actually, a little secret here. I'm not going to give it away, but I think it gives away the librarian's name. So I got that unlocked now. All right. Hello, gentlemen.
What?
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, she, you know, she always just says it's the librarian. So
yeah.
I'm just saying.
Hey, Juice, make it weirder.
I'm going to call the police.
Okay.
What did she say?
Hello, gentlemen. So I forgot to call in with my reading wrap up. I ended up reading 130 books last year.
Jesus,
my Lord.
Damn.
That is,
I feel like such a piece of
almost
shit.
3 a
You
week.
are.
I know.
Here's the full list. Oh, God. Here's my top 5. Swan Song by Robert McCammon. Stephen King wishes he wrote a post-apocalyptic horror this good. Fun fact. This book tied with Misery by Stephen King at the first Bram Stoker Horror Book Awards. Gotta go to that thing. Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. The most evil antagonist. He actually gave me nightmares. Okay. Manhunt by Gretchen Felker Martin. Transgender people surviving a dystopian world where excess testosterone turns you into a literal monster. Damn. The 2 main characters are trans women battling the creatures themselves to keep their testosterone down, and TERFS, trans exclusionary
TERFs.
Okay. Radical feminist. Okay. The author is also a trans woman, so I just love seeing my community represented. The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. Carrie retelling involving race relations. Trust me, it works so well. Please read Carrie before this to understand just how well done this book is. And then number 1, Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, by Eric LaRocca. This is simultaneously the greatest and grossest book ever. Worst book was a tie between The House Across the Lake and Hidden Pictures. Neither were even a solid 1 star. I gave the first one 0.25 and the second one 0.75. Both returned my least favorite trope of both featured my least favorite trope of, did this woman battling substance abuse really see a ghost or murder, or is she just being gaslit? My goal for 2023 is 120 books. So far, I am at 6. Love the Librarian.
Crazy.
I love the Librarian, but Jesus Christ, I feel like such a piece of shit.
She's crazy. That's a lot.
130 books. I don't even know what to say. I could not get through 2, despite it being my fucking New Year's resolution last year. I am such a piece of shit. I'm comically bad at this.
Tell me how much I suck. Tell me
Everyone
now.
Validate my self-hate now.
Oh, Randy,
next
you
week's
really
prompt.
disappointed me. You really
Thank
let me
you,
down
thank you.
last
Oh,
year.
yeah, that's good.
I thought you were going to do better.
Call in and shit on Randy. Tell him how much shit he sucks. That's what
It's a lot. It's a lot of shit.
904-638-3231.
Yeah.
Librarian, thanks for calling. We didn't
Thank
say
you.
that, but thank you for calling.
I will not reveal your name.
We are very impressed, and
just know that I could.
But I won't. But I could. Maybe I will.
But probably not.
I'm
But
not gonna
probably.
I'm not gonna do
Yeah,
it.
this is how you get more people to engage with the show right here. This is how you do it. Take notes.
If I neg myself enough, will people come to my rescue in the form of patrons?
It's the incredible edible neg.
If you want to make me feel better, all you have to do is sign up for $15 a month on patreon.com/straightchillingpodcast.
Randy, you stuck shit out of my ass, you fucker.
I know. Sign up today.
Whoa, save that for Freaky Friday, Bob.
You gotta pay
out of my
to hear
asshole.
more of
What
that.
the fuck?
Come on now. That's where we make the big bucks. Save it for Freaky Friday.
The incredible edible neg.
Giving the goods away for free, Bob.
You want these goods, you gotta pay.
So right.
Well, if anybody's still listening, please call in to be featured on next week's show.
We just gained 100 new listeners.
3231.
What are you talking about?
That's gonna do it for us here at Straight Chilling. We're gonna be back next week with a brand new show. As always, we're talking about a new release. Actually, this is the latest and greatest from your boy Baby Berg. The movie is Infinity Pool.
Mm-hmm.
Check
Baby
it
Bird
out.
being Brandon Cronenberg.
Brandon Cronenberg.
For the record.
Yeah.
Bob really loves
Baby
shitting
Berg.
on
Oh
people's
yeah,
art
Baby Berg.
and
It's my
their
boy,
names.
Imagine if he
Birds.
went to buy Baby Berg. Like that's
It's
what
your boy Baby Bird.
they call me the Baby Berg.
Baby
Uh, It is getting a theatrical release, so hopefully it's at a cinema near you. Slam your eyeballs into Infinity Pool. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling. On Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email at straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to join our daily Slack channel conversations and talk about food, movies, TV shows, life, your cats, your dogs, your jobs, your whatever the fuck you want to talk about, just hit us up on one of those social media outlets and I'll send you a link so you can join in on the fun. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.